How you doing? Let's go ahead and see if we can stop the share. Let's go ahead and see if we can. Are we live? Are we streaming? Meeting is now streaming. Come on, guys. Say hey.
I don't see that it's streaming.
Shows that it's streaming.
An amazing teacher. You're an amazing mentor. I've been in so many different masterminds. Your coaching is, like here, like it's, one of the best. And I would tell anyone that this is truly transformational. So your mindset, figuring out your business, figuring out your brand, figuring out the messaging, the transformation that you deliver here is one of a kind. And the way that you teach is just so amazing. I can't even express all the gratitude that I have for this experience. This is an amazing community. So thank you so much. Thank you for all the experience.
Patrick and Anna have been an incredible resource and mentors for me with regards to my online business. I highly recommend working with them. They continually demonstrate a high level of knowledge, skill set, tactics, strategies, and the thing I really like is they really personalize my business. And sometimes we have to make some adjustments or pivot if something's not working, but they always have something in mind to help me advance or succeed to the next level. But one of the biggest reasons I really enjoy working with them is that they're so invested in my business and so supportive of anything I go through with regards to successes or if something doesn't work out. No matter what happens, I always know they'll be in my corner, and anytime I do have success, they're such a big cheerleader for me, and they're always there to help me in any way possible. I couldn't ask for better support, and I really couldn't ask for a more knowledgeable and more resourceful set of mentors. I highly recommend working with them, and you will not be disappointed.
My passion is to build family businesses, family lifestyle businesses. 3 generations ago, my family had a thriving hotel chain, and it was across the entire Middle West. And it was dismantled in the last generation. And so I have a passion for the things that I believe we as families are designed for. So my personal goal is to help 10,000 lifestyle entrepreneurs make their first or their next $1 million using online courses. And so anything that I can do to help facilitate that.
Your passion, both you and your hubby, your passion for sincerely helping people play bigger and giving them the actual tools to do it. Like there's some people that talk about it, but you guys have repeatedly done it, and your passion to help people step into that just radiates. Love you, Anne.
I love you too. Natalia.
I just want to share my takeaway. I mean, I really like your DNA system because it feels like you are you're becoming, by creating the DNA system, you're becoming a guide or a transformer to your clients, right? In terms of where do they want to be. So they're here now, and the DNA system that you're building, you will be guiding your client to that future of where or who they want to be. And I think that, to me, that was very powerful.
Thank you. Yes.
She wants to live. And I asked her to give you the essence of her genius in this session. So will you please welcome Anne McDonald.
Hey folks, how's it going? Emily here, making progress, and also learn all this awesome stuff that Anne is sharing with us because I can see that this is the future. So I'm super excited, just giving everybody a shout out because I'm just so inspired by all the awesome work and transformation I'm seeing everybody doing, and how amazing, what Ann and Patrick have done and what they've created, and how awesome that workshop was. I've been enjoying every second of it, and get out of this hustle and grind mode and into this amazingly beautiful future that Ann has outlined for us. So just a shout out today, guys. Keep up the great work, and I'm super excited to be here and part of the team. Take care.
Ann and Patrick, first of all, for trusting me. Yeah, and what I love about you, Ann, is you are a trusting person. And look, I've been in business, Stacey and I, my wife and I have been in business for over 30 years, and we can spell stuck in 14 different languages. But we choose to trust anyway. You ever heard of a guy named Bob Goff? He said, love always. And this is what these two people do. Ann and Patrick, they love always. They are the hands and feet of Jesus. And I love what you guys are showing up. And what you guys have done here and brought these people together is just so impressive. So I'm just honored to be here. Thank you. Last night was so good. It was the first time in probably 30 years I didn't have to buy dinner.
Come on. I love that line from Michael McIntyre. He's like, the first time I didn't have to buy dinner. Friends, that was from our live in-person event in Dallas, Texas. Michael was one of the keynote speakers, just an amazing friend. He built a multi-billion-dollar business, and I'm honored to call him a friend. He's also mentored us and coached us. So it's good to have billionaires who mentor you, right? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So today I just want to come on live. We're hosting a challenge. How many of you know that we're hosting a 5-day challenge this week on blueprinting? Somebody write in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're watching us right now. We got our VIP group. They have the VIP crew has the Zoom link to be on the Zoom with me. And if you want to be in the VIP room, it's just been an incredible week. We've got a dashboard for you. We got all sorts of goodies for you. But let me ask you a question. Would you like to learn how to blueprint, right? You ever build a custom house, right? You need a blueprint. Would you like to learn how to blueprint a 7-figure? If you don't want to go 7 figures, you can go more like hobby brand, 5 or 6 figures. Lifestyle brand in the online space. That's what we're jamming on this week. That's what we're focusing on. And today, this afternoon, I have a bonus training from a friend of mine. Now, this friend of mine he did this training for my group exclusively. And in fact, just to give you kind of a sneak peek, my mastermind members are mastermind members at the top levels, like, 25K and up. They have access to a private training directly from my friend Evans Putnam. And Evans agreed to do this training last time. And I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and share this with the crew this time as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up, and I'm live, and I have a training that Evans actually did for us. And this is, how many of you have podcasts? How many of you in your brand building space have ever done a podcast, right? Let me know, one in the chat. Yes, I've got a podcast, Ann. I love it. Yes, I started a podcast, Ann, and then I quit. I only did like 5 episodes or something. Or what about this? Have you ever been a guest on a podcast? Well, I want to set this up for you because I'm actually going to be live with you watching the training of Evans. We're going to split the screen here in just a second. What Evans is going to share is a proprietary method that he developed to turn listeners, right? Podcast listeners, whether they're your listeners, just say my listeners, or you are a guest on somebody else's podcast to turn those listeners into actual leads, right? And isn't leads and sales kind of the name of the game here? So with no further ado, I'm going to share the screen and we're going to play the video together. And I'm going to stop it at a couple of key points because if you decide to join us in one of our programs, you're likely going to get access to one of Evan's live trainings as well, whether it's live or recorded. A special training, like I said, he's doing one right now for our mastermind clients, and it's kind of blowing everybody's minds. So let's go ahead and get started on this. All righty, make sure I'm sharing the sound, and let's go ahead and play.
You know, I saw something this morning and it reminds me of this. So has anybody ever found themselves like in a place where life just doesn't seem to be going too good? Right? Like you're sort of down in the valley a little bit. What I discovered, this is how I got into podcasting. I was at a place where things were struggling, and I won't give you the full background, but you know, I knew in my heart, like the worst thing I could do was not take action at this point, right? So I took action, imperfect action, and it changed my life forever. I reached out to somebody. This is when I lost all my clients overnight, because let's face it, I had like 2 or 3 that were like my big whales, and I got a little greedy, a little lazy. And I found myself like, how are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to do any of this stuff? And I beat myself up for a day. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? Sometimes we have to empty our cup to fill our cup. Right. So my cup was being emptied for a reason. And I reached out to somebody the next, like 2 days later, after I grieved for a day, I beat myself up. And then I was like, I know what I need to do. I just need to start doing. And when I start doing, things will start working out, right? So starting to move forward, much like I'm sure you all know through this process. So I reached out to somebody who I saw this post and they were looking for help. And I was like, there's something pulling me towards this. And it was crazy because it was something that I would never, it was something that was so below my pay grade at this point in my career but I was still pulled towards it. And the crazy thing is that the guy ends up living in the same town that I'm in. We end up becoming best friends, business partners. He's a mentor to me, all these things, but it changed my life overnight because he had a podcast. It wasn't growing. He had no business attached to it. He had no way of getting leads, no way of getting sales. And I was like, give me the weekend. I'll figure it all out. We'll meet again. Right. So sometimes you guys just have to have faith. Wouldn't you agree? You have to have faith and believe in yourself and just say yes. Right. So I said yes. And then I figured it out later. But long story short, over the next probably year and a half, through some struggles, we ended up hiring a coach when we were like, things were really going bad. But what I'm going to share with y'all today is the one lever that changed everything in our business, right? We use this podcast as the engine that drove our business. And that business went on from basically, we went from $0 to $500,000 in 12 months. We grew to 150,000 monthly listeners. Imagine having 150,000 people showing up at your front door wanting to know more about you every month. Would you guys be okay with that? I'm going to give a caveat here in a second. So there's a caveat to this, but all of these wonderful things kept happening. And eventually I felt called to do more. So I left when that business was actually still growing, but we built a business model based around the lead generation stuff that I'm going to share with y'all today, this system that we were able to sell that podcast in that business too. Real quick, and I don't want y'all to think that I'm like some super smarty pants that knew what I was doing. I want y'all to like give yourself permission to take action and not worry about what the outcome is. Because when I did that, everything changed in my life. And we found somebody that had done it before us, who could give us a framework. And this is the great thing. When I talked to Ann, I was like, oh my gosh, I resonate so much with what you're doing, because we got a framework that we were able to fit into, not conform to. And so we were able to show up as our authentic selves, and it blew our business up overnight. So now I go out and I teach others how to do it, because I believe everybody has a message and a mission, and somebody is out there waiting to hear from you. And if I can help you get it out in any way, that's what I love to do. I love to. And here's the thing, for those of y'all, the great thing about what I'm about to share with you is that, and I share this, I have clients. The funny thing is I have more clients now that don't have podcasts. They just want to go get on podcasts because they know that's a great way to connect with their audience.
Okay, I want to stop and share something for just a minute, team. So if you are watching, we got a couple VIPs here. Say hello to Kim, say hello to Caleb. It's good to see you guys in the room. Evans is about to share something that, if you and I will understand the value of it, this thing changed the game for me as well. It's why I'm so passionate about bringing his message to my clients. And I think he's best in class at not only having the framework, but teaching on this. This is for somebody right in the chat. It is for podcasters, but also how many of all y'all want to be guests on podcasts, right? It's and literally he just shared what he's going to unpack for you works whether you are, hosting your own podcast or you're a guest on somebody else's. So friends, lean in on this. I'm going to go back to the screen share and let's keep going on this.
So this is perfect for you if you want to guest or you want your own show. Either way. But what this looked like, and thank you for asking, was here we were struggling, right? I remember I sort of asked y'all a loaded question earlier. I told you there was a caveat. We didn't quite have 150,000 monthly listeners at this time on our show, but we had around 60 to 75,000. So here we were. Imagine yourself. Remember when they used to have those brick and mortar stores? We used to all actually be in physical business back in the day instead of online, right? Imagine you own a store and you watch 75,000 people walk by every day and not come in your store. That's what we were dealing with. And I hate to admit this, but we actually, at this point, we're getting maybe 2 to 3 email addresses a week on a good week with 75,000 people showing up right outside of our front door. So we had to figure out how to solve that. And if you can imagine, if you're not, how many of you know if you're not getting all these leads, you're also not getting sales, right? So we sort of backed up and we're like, we need to fix this problem. And this is the big lever that we were talking about. And this is what I share with everybody now, because this is the thing. Nobody out there is teaching you how to be a podcast guest or how to be a podcaster to get leads, right? They'll tell you that podcasts are like not for getting leads. They're for building relationships. They're not for getting leads or getting sales. They're just for amplifying your message, right? That you shouldn't be trying to get leads on other people's shows. You should just be showing up and serving and shining, which I agree with that part, but you still need to get leads, right? So at this point, we stepped back and we're like, what do we need to change? And the biggest thing I want y'all to realize is the big takeaway was for us, it was we need to switch from a transactional approach to a transformational approach. We need to shift from asking for an email and giving them some lead magnet, which I don't even, we use different terms now, that will just collect cobwebs on their hard drive. How many of you know that you got like probably about 20 or 30 lead magnets sitting on your hard drive? Because I probably got more than that. And it wasn't working. So we had to shift everything. And this is the thing, is that at this point, we were barely able to keep the lights on in the business. We were barely able to like pay people at the end of the month. And how many of you know what it feels like if you've got a business, if you're constantly chasing at the end of the month, like, okay, I got to get clients, I got to get sales, I got to do this now, because otherwise we're not going to be able to keep going. How are we going to pay our team? And we switched from that place of stress and uncertainty to certainty. And it was when we focused on everything, doing nothing but focusing on moving listeners to leads first, right? It's, if you can imagine, does anybody here remember Evil Knievel?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
We're
do.
all like, we're in that same age where we remember Evil Knievel, right? Here's the problem is, okay, if I share with you like one big problem that most people face when
Please.
when you're on podcasts, there's a couple things, right? But I'll give you two. The first one is creating massive confusion in your audience's mind, right? When you go on a podcast and at the end, and when Ann, I'm on her show and she asked me, Evans, this has been amazing. Where can they find out more about you? Or like, what's the next step? Whatever that is, right? You've heard it a million times, right? It's like, oh, well, you know what, Ann, they can go connect with me on LinkedIn. I've got this website. I've got this thing over here, right? Create massive confusion and paralysis because they're not even going to move forward. So that's step one, is that you need to create one thing and send them to one place.
Okay, hold on, friends. I'm going to stop. I want to emphasize this point right in the chat. One place. One place. We talked about this a little bit in our VIP session earlier. And then in our general session, that branch, like what's that one place? For Kim, you've got this massive YouTube channel. Your one place is likely your YouTube channel or something like that. Caleb is he's actually a big ham radio guy, podcaster guy. So the one place may actually be his actual podcast. So I want you to write in the chat. I'm going to go back to the video. If I could jump through the screen for y'all right now and just say, this is money. Okay. I literally pay out of pocket to have my clients learn from Evans when they buy my programs. That's how much I value this. Okay. So go ahead and think about what your one platform is, and let's go back to the interview. Let's go back and share, and let's keep playing.
And then step two, the biggest issue that we kept running into, that I see all the time, is that next step is not something that's super valuable, that actually creates a transformation in the listener, that helps them be who they need to be to do the thing they wish to do. And the thing they wish to do is offered by you. We have to help them be first before they do it, right? We don't want to just give them information, because information is everywhere now. You have to give them a transformation. And when we started recognizing those things and focused on acquiring relationships versus leads, that was the big step. And once we did all that, that was when the fire hose turned on. And that's when we basically went from struggle and uncertainty to 500,000 in the next 12 months. And it was by what we jokingly call our, when people ask me this, like, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, we quit selling. We use this super technique called the sales without selling method. But back to Evil Knievel, and I almost forgot. I just, I left y'all hanging on purpose because I know you're wanting to hear this. Here's what happens. How many of you know that, if you have Evil Knievel tried to jump over whatever that was, the Snake River, big giant canyon, right? Yep. Most podcasters or most podcast guests try to get those listeners to jump over a giant canyon. Have this faith to jump over this canyon. And I'm not even going to give you a motorcycle with a rocket attached to it. I'm just asking you to do it, right? How many times have you heard people say, go here and book a call with me? They know nothing about you. They're not ready for that step yet. And to them, it's like jumping over. So what I want to share with you all is how to build the bridge. How many of you would feel more comfortable walking over a bridge to the other side versus jumping blindly across that canyon? And that's the next step. That's where we have to go with this process. When I put the image of the bridge in your minds, right? Because it takes people from listener to lead, basically over into your world. We developed this process, and it's developed over time, right? It wasn't perfect when we first did it, and it kept growing and growing, but we did things differently, right? We were like, we're not going to listen to what they tell us, because they did. They told us, you just need the traffic, you need the audience, and everything else will solve itself. And it doesn't work that way. So, and nobody else was teaching this stuff. So we had to which was probably a gift to us, we had to come up with it ourselves. So what happened, I'll walk you through. Is it okay if I just share like the 3 exact steps that you need to put in place? For us, initially, here we were, 60 to 75,000 monthly listeners, which we developed an organic system to create this audience too, by the way. We didn't pay for traffic. It was all organic. And for those of you that are thinking about doing guesting, the cool thing is that you can go borrow other people's audiences the same way. You don't have to create the big audience, right? So that's step one, is that you have this audience, and there we are looking at them going, okay, why is nobody opting in? Why is we not getting leads? And this is where we stumbled upon something we now call the irresistible opt-in offer. The irresistible opt-in offer. And when we put this into play, the crazy thing was, remember those 2 little measly leads we were getting before? Now we were getting a 78.6% opt-in rate.
Okay. Where are all my entrepreneurs, all y'all? 78% opt-in rate. Write that in the chat. Somebody get a hold of this for a second. I'm doing a pattern interrupt on purpose because I got my mama bear mentor on today. I'm it's time to bring in the bank, friends. So you want to serve your clients at a high level. He went from 2 leads with 65 to 70,000 monthly listeners to a 78% opt-in rate. All right, let's go back to the video and learn what he's doing.
78.6%, almost 8 out of 10. So I'll ask you this. How would you like it if 8 out of 10 of those people walking by came into your store, right? It's yes, we're getting closer now. So that was the first step. And what it really is, I'll give you guys a big tip around this, is that you need to create desire. Desire. Do anybody here know who Les Brown is, the Hall of Fame speaker? So Les was in, I was blessed to work with Les. That rhymes. I like that. That sounds like something he would say. Blessed to work with Les. I was blessed to work with Les, and he was actually in one of my masterminds too that I created. And he said something to me that really struck, and I want to share this with you all. I'm not going to even try to do an impression of Les Brown because it's not a good one. But he said, Evans, he's like, what you have to do, and this is for those of you, your talks on your interview, along as with your podcast, you got to make them thirsty. You make them thirsty, and the drink of water is over here. That's how you create an irresistible opt-in offer. It has nothing to do with, they'll tell you it's button colors. They'll tell you it's headlines. They'll tell you it's put a video instead of an image on the thing, create a long opt-in page. None of that matters if you don't create desire for the next step. So once we discovered that, that was part of our irresistible opt-in formula, and that gave us 78.6% opt-in rate. And I know that number by heart because it's just absolutely insane, right? And here's the thing, is that we were outliers, but I can tell you that my clients that I work with generally get 20 to 30 percentage points above what is considered exceptional, which is generally around 33%, right? So that was step one, right? And everything seems great, but I'll ask you guys this. We can do some math here, some fun math. 78.6% opt-in rate, big audience. Now, I will say this, not every single person is coming through there, right? We're talking about people that actually committed. They made the commitment to take the next step and go to the landing page. We created the desire. We made them thirsty, and the water was over there. Well, then we started looking at it, and we're like, this is great. 78.6% opt-in rate. But I'll ask you guys this. Let's say that same storefront, if now you had 10 people walking by and 8 people came in, right? That's option A. Option B is you got 100 people walk by and 80 people come in. Which would you rather have, option A or option B? B. So we had to figure out how to increase the lead volume. The lead volume, right? So we weren't getting, while we were getting a great 8 out of 10, 78% opt-in rate, we needed more leads, right? The more leads, the better. Wouldn't you guys agree? So at that point, we're like, how do we increase the lead volume? And we started trying new things, doing different things. And that's where we stumbled upon something we call the no opt-in, opt-in formula, right? real fancy. No opt-in formula. And here's the cool thing. When we did that, the number of leads shot through the roof. And I won't go into details to exactly what it is, but I'll give you guys a hint because there's something that you need to insert there. And you start thinking, and here's the principle behind why this works that I want you to all start thinking about. Think about your listeners. Think about the person on the other side. Think about your audience. What do they prefer, not what do you prefer? And think about where they are actually listening to these podcasts that you are appearing on. Their own phones. So we went from doing nothing but email to texting. We gave them the opportunity to text, and we created something called the no opt-in method that they didn't never have to even see a landing page. They didn't have to ever not go to that go to that landing page and then freeze and think, do I really want to put my email address in here? Instead, we just made it feel like it was frictionless, and they could just text and get into this flow we developed, a specific way of doing it where they just pulled in and we got their name, their email address, their phone number, everything all at once, and they never even saw an opt-in page, and they loved it, right? So at that point, things are all hunky-dory. We're getting, now we've got our lead problem solved. Right. So let's go back to that image again. All those people walking by the store, now they're coming in the store, 8 out of 10 of them. Right. And now instead of just 8 out of 10, now there's like 800 out of 1,000 because the lead numbers have gone up. But how many times have you ever been in a store when somebody walks up to you and what's the thing that you always say? I'm just looking. Right. I'm just looking. Can I help you? I'm just looking. Well, we had a lot of I'm just lookings at this point. And I'm just lookings don't pay the bills. So we didn't need a lot of browsers. We didn't need a lot of people just walking around, taking stuff off the rack, going and trying it on and then putting it back, not even putting it back, just leaving it in the dressing room, right? But just stumbling around our store. We needed sales. And that's when we started thinking, how do we actually move these people to the next step? Right? How do we get them to actually just not put something on their hard drive and leave it there? And so we had to come up with a new way of delivering the leads. The lead, we call it a lead experience. So we created something that we called the niche cast blueprint, right? The niche cast blueprint. And the amazing thing about this is that there's 4 C's that when you come to leads, that I want y'all to write these down. And this is the big problem, right? You first have commitment. They must commit to giving you their information. They must commit to taking the next step, right? Then there's consumption. They must consume what you give them. Then there's completion. You want them to complete it. And then there's conversion. You want to convert them to a sale, right? And so we had to find a way to solve that whole process. How many of you know that sometimes it can be easy to get the lead, but maybe you don't follow up a lot? You don't really have a system in place to keep nurturing that lead. How many of you would like to not even have to worry about that and just let your lead experience, your what we call a niche cast, actually do the nurturing for you? Creates binge effects. How many of you like to watch Netflix and like you find your family gone for the weekend and you watch like 100 hours of some show that you've never seen before? I'm not admitting to anything. I'm just examples, right? You create a bingeable experience for your listeners. And I'll ask you this because I want you guys to put this in the chat if you can. We'll see if we got some super smarty pants folks in here because it's a trick question. The reason why this works, I want to shift your thoughts for a minute. How many of you, I bet, well, here's what I'll put it this way, and I want you to just answer in the chat. I can guarantee you that each one of you in this room, if you are going on a podcast as a guest and doing an interview, or if you have your own podcast, I bet you anything that every one of you knows one thing for certain about that audience. Can you guys tell me what that is? I know.
All right, I'm going to stop this. Another pattern interrupt, friends. His question, you're going to know something for certain about the audience. This is a primary principle. It's one of the reasons I love the training, and it's one of the reasons that I bring him in for my masterminds. So think about this, listen in, lean in. You're going to be like, oh, duh. All right, hold on. Let's go back and go back to it.
Oh, you know it. Who's going to be first? Put it in the chat. Somebody give me a guess. I want to see what you guys are doing here. What you got?
I'm going to stay out of the chat while people come up with it. Marilyn, Angelina, Natalia.
Come on, y'all.
Lisa,
Don't be afraid to
Melissa.
go first.
Don't be
Who's
afraid.
going to go first?
He's a good man. Teresa, Jill, Patty, Pamela. Ask
All
the
right, we
question
got
again, Evans. Come on, ladies.
How many? Okay, they don't know what you. Okay, repeat again. They're volunteer. Okay, so how I will say this: if you are on a show as a guest, or if it's your own show, I can guarantee you that each one of you knows one thing 100% about that audience. Just give me any kind of guesses. They're wanting to hear something that resonates. They're committed. I love these answers. These are all great. They're listening. Marilyn she's like just there. They're in pain. They want a solution. Yes to all those, but here's the thing. I'll say this. They've all raised their hand and said they like audio. They listen to audio. They want to consume audio. So let me ask you this. Why are you giving them a PDF? Why are you giving them an ebook? Why are you giving them a video to go watch for your lead magnet? We create lead experiences on the same consumable product that our audience has already said that they absolutely want. And it takes them from where they are to where they wish to be. So it takes them from pain to solution, right? It takes them from struggle to success. It takes them from where they're over here stuck to being unstuck. And it does it in a way that it creates a bingeable effect, right? They're committed. They opt in. They actually consume it because they come into it. You pull them through it. They complete it because they want to get to the end. They're being pulled towards it. How many of you know that if you are walking forward, if you're in momentum, an object that's in momentum is harder to stop than one that isn't? So they're in momentum from the beginning and they're moving forward and they're pulling towards this end result, and you solve it for them. So you're actually deepening the level of trust, giving them a win, keeping them in momentum, and moving them forward. And here's the thing is that at the end of this, when somebody's moving in one direction and all of a sudden that sort of experience has ended, their next logical question is, well, what's next? And who are they going to look to first? That's you. That's how you take them from listener to lead to sale with one simple lead generation process that moves them through this. And you don't have to be good. I'm horrible at like putting together email campaigns and nurture campaigns and all this. I let that do it. And here's the thing that I want to share with y'all. When we did this, remember those, let's say 1,000 people have now come through the door. There was something about the number 8. I think it represents abundance. It represents infinity, infinite possibilities, all these wonderful things. It also represented the amount of people that always came to the next step with us. So 80%, those 78.6% that opted in, 8 out of 10 of those, 80% of those became our best buyers, our best clients, repeat buyers. And here's the even better thing for y'all. How many of you all would like it if, let's say, 8 people wanted to buy your thing and 6 of them actually asked you to buy it?
Oh.
Would you guys like sales a lot better though? Right? that was how it worked. And that changed everything for us. And we actually call it the immersion conversion system. And when you look at what we did, we just, we focused on acquiring relationships, not acquiring clients. And that's the big principle, right? So instead of just saying, you know what, Ann, come over here, give me your email address. I'm going to give you this thing. I'll see you again on Black Friday with like 800 emails so I can get you to buy my next thing, right? Trying to acquire a client. Instead of doing that, we're like, you know, I know that you have a dream, and I know that you're wanting to go from pain to pleasure. I know you have an aspirational future. Can I move you towards that? And can we do it together? And then if you're ready for the next step, I'll be here. You just reach out and let me know, and we'll take the next step. And that's the power of it. It was all focused on acquiring relationships, because you guys, when you are on podcast, it's your own podcast or as a guest, you're making a real deep human emotional connection with people through your voice. What do? We were all born here, obviously. When we were in somebody's belly, or when we had children, I remember my wife had the child, obviously, but I remember being in the room. What did we do? We didn't play videos for that child in my wife's stomach. I was leaning over, talking to it, using my voice, creating a real connection, right? Even if it was playing music, but it's audio. Audio creates such a powerful connection. And then when you put this in that place, it changes everything for your business. And like I said, this is something that you can do as a guest, super, super powerful. Or you can do it as on your own podcast, even more powerful, because then that audience has a real deep bond with you. I was gonna say, I read something this morning that I was going to share, but I don't know if I can find it. But here's what I would share, you know, for each of you. If you guys, you've heard of the word imposter syndrome, right? The phrase, you know, maybe you've experienced it. That's okay. Can I share something with you? Is that it doesn't matter where you are, you experience imposter syndrome no matter what level you're on, right? So what I would share to you, and this is the powerful thing, and I share this, the reason why I believe so much in the podcasting space is just that in audio, in any kind of speaking, like standing up and speaking to people this way in a Zoom, right? Connecting that relationship with them, is that somebody is out there waiting to hear your message and your mission. Right. And you speak to the one person, especially if you're doing a show as a guest or a podcaster, just speak to the one person. Think of that one person and who that is. And like they're in that pain that somebody mentioned earlier, right? And you have a solution that can help them overcome that pain. Right. So to me, it's all about, and I would say this is that, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be scripted. In fact, it's better if it's not. It's better if it's real, if it's a little messy, if it's authentic. But everybody here has a you, right? An authentic you, and there is no other you out there. So it doesn't matter if there's 8 million podcasts now and you want to launch one, there is no podcast with you doing it. So it's one of a kind. Go do it. But I would definitely share that the biggest things are, you know, with business owners too, it's like, well, how am I going to prevent this from becoming a liability, and how can I make it an asset for my business? How can I use it to, you know, bring the right people into my world? And there's systems and structures and ways that we teach. And like what I was sharing here with our lead system, we have the audience attraction formula that we use to help you attract your dream clients. And here's the even better thing. How cool would it be if, well, I'll ask you all this real quick. Have you ever heard of like red ocean, blue ocean, Ann? Have you guys ever heard that before? Right? You don't want to fish in the red ocean because it's too messy. You got to go spend your entire business career looking for the blue ocean, right? That elusive blue ocean. Where is it? Why don't you just create your own darn ocean? And when you follow the frameworks that we help our clients with, the audience attraction for, you create your content, creates your client.
Okay, I want you to lean in on this one. I want to just give a quick testimony on this because this changed the game for me. Some of you know I have a podcast called the Holiday Decor Podcast, and we started this 3 years ago, just kind of on a whim. And turns out it's one of the top podcasts that our podcast producer produces. So it's got a super niche audience. Kim's on right now. She's the Papered Chef. If you're not following her on YouTube right now, make sure and follow the Papered Chef, Kimberly Smith, on YouTube. She's in this VIP group with me. And what's really interesting about what Evans is about to share is I didn't know it at the time. We kind of stumbled on it. But this will set a lot of you free as entrepreneurs if you're not up and running yet and you're trying to search for that quote blue ocean where there's no competition. This will actually open up the floodgates with you. So let's go ahead and go back to this while he's explaining this. It's a big deal.
You guys getting that? And I want to let you know is that if you're feeling a little hesitant about sharing your message and your mission, I want to share a story of one of my friends who she is a trauma coach, and she was terrified of sharing her story. And the moment she got real and started sharing her story, when she got brave enough to share it on that microphone, and she was in an in-person event, and this teen girl came up to her and met her and said, I heard you on a podcast. You're the reason I'm not dead right now. So I want to say that not to guilt you, but to let you know that if one person said something like that to you, would it not make it worth it to sort of step out of that fear of sharing your message? Because each one of you has a message and a mission and something worthy of shining. And that's one of my biggest things is like, how can I help people believe so that they get out there and change lives? Because I know I've got like a 13-year-old daughter. You probably can't see her in the picture behind me, but if she was going through something, I would hope that she would hear that one voice that was brave enough to change her life and keep her alive. So that's what I want to share around that. But if you have a system and a process in place, it makes it so much easier and it makes it fun. I know Ann's all about fun. It's fun, right? You can create a fun environment either by going on shows or doing it yourself, and people want to hear from you.
All right, can we give it up for my friend Evans? Look, here's what I want to share with you on this. We're on day 3 right now of the challenge. We have this bonus. We got another bonus coming up next week where we're actually I'm gonna share a little bit on my webinar strategy. But this is what I want to share with you right now. The world is waiting for you to step into the next incarnation of you. Does that make sense? Like we've seen the good you, the great you even already, but what the world is waiting on is the next incarnation, the next level up of what you carry. And one of the best ways to leverage is actually knowing how to use the power of sound, right? It's knowing how to actually speak a message and then have it resonate while you're working on something else. So I just wanted to bring this to you. Just incredibly powerful. Like I said, Evans is training our mastermind group right now. And anybody who comes into our programs above a certain level will actually have access. I literally, where I need my wallet, I take my wallet out and I pay him per person in my programs to be able to have access to this. Because I think it's a key component. And like I said, it changed the game for me on this rando little holiday decor brand, right? Which turned out to not be so random after all. So let's have a great day. Tag a friend if you're watching the replay, put in #replay, put in your takeaways. And if you're not already registered and signed up for the challenge, the VIP gets 30 days access. You got plenty of time to go through it. And we just want to help you become the online entrepreneur that you know you're designed to be without blowing up your life at the same time. All right. Let's have a great day. Thanks, Kim, for being on live. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, go follow Kim. Papered Chef.